Welcome back to Spellbound. I'm BJ the Book Witch, and here I chat about books as both a reader and a writer in episodes of Book Both Ways. And sometimes we put two completely unrelated books in conversation with each other in episodes of tabled content. But this isn't one of those. This is my TBR video where I chat about all the great books that I'll be reading this month. This is a jam-packed month, and if you couldn't already tell, I'm a little bit behind. So I had my February list ready to go ahead of time, and then I discovered Blackathon. Blackathon is a month-long reading event that promotes Black authors and Black characters because February is Black History Month. So I learned about this from Starla over at Starla Reads because she is a team leader for this event. But she redirected us to Jessie over at Bowties and Books, and this is really Jessie's event. And you can tell that they have put so much work into this. I was absolutely blown away. There are teams, reading challenges, live viewings of movies on Netflix, there's vlogging challenges, there are quizzes and different ways to participate, and it's being hosted across 3 different platforms. It's on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. So there is so much work that went into this, and I was just completely blown away and so inspired. So after really doing my research on Blackathon and learning about all the different ways to participate, I realized that I am completely unprepared to participate in Blackathon this year with such short notice. I'm not as familiar as I need to be with diverse authors. I know that I have a lot of work to do before I can really participate in Blackathon next year in a team. But what I can do is still promote Blackathon and still do the work of researching and reading Black authors. So I completely reconstructed my own TBR for this month in a way that includes Black authors that are being encouraged and lifted by Jessie over at Bowties and Books, and completely exposes me to a wide variety of authors that I wouldn't have known to look for otherwise. So in that way, I'm not participating this year, but I am next year. But this year, I'm definitely going to try to promote it as much as possible and read and expose myself to as many different Black authors as possible in a single month. But we'll get to that in just a minute because I already had some big surprises planned for the month of February. I knew that I wanted February to have 2 main focuses. The first being Black authors and Black voices for Black History Month and really focusing on that. And the other was trying to really expose myself to as many different types of romance as possible. So I know that I've mentioned a couple of times how I feel about romance. It's not my favorite, but I also know that I really don't want to participate in the stigma attached to delegitimizing romance as a genre. So I'm really trying to expose myself and read as much out of my comfort zone so that I can learn more about the genre so that I can speak intelligently about it. So for that reason, I have partnered with the Matchmaking Librarian to help me choose my books for this month. So the Wonder Woman behind the Matchmaking Librarian is Dorothy, and she's a fellow Disney cast member who was affected by the pandemic of last year. So when she said that she was starting her small business and pairing people up with their own blind date books, I was so excited to ask her to help me out in choosing some books outside my own comfort zone for this month. So the Matchmaking Librarian pairs you up with your very own blind date book, and it's wrapped in paper so you can't see what it is, with just a few keywords on the front. They look like this. She also pairs your book with a unique flavor of tea and a handmade bookmark, which is included inside. So you tell the Matchmaking Librarian the types of books that you like to read. Maybe even forward her a link to your Goodreads, and she'll scope out the types of books that you rated 4 and 5 stars so that she can really understand the types of books that you enjoy and that you like to read. And then she will choose a blind date book just for you, pair it with a flavor of tea and a handmade bookmark, and send it to you straight away. And as of last week, she just started offering subscriptions on a monthly basis. So you can get a monthly subscription with either romance or fantasy, historical fiction, or a surprise me option. So I signed up for the 6-month subscription for the surprise me option for every month. So every month I know that I'll be getting a single surprise book from the Matchmaking Librarian that's tailored and just for me. And I'm so excited. So I asked the Matchmaking Librarian if she would help me choose a couple of romance books for the month of February that I may actually not hate. And I asked for a YA romance and a contemporary romance by a Black author. So based off of my own Goodreads account and what she has seen me rate as 4 and 5 stars, she selected 2 special books for this month, and I'm excited to see what she sent me, and we'll both find out together what I'll be reading this month. The first is a contemporary romance by a Black author. The clues here are wedding, long distance, and romance. And it's paired with a flavor of peppermint tea. Her books also come with an adorable handwritten thank you letter on a Disney princess paper. This one features Rapunzel and Belle. I love opening presents. So I'll be reading The Wedding Date by Jasmine Guillory. I think I'm saying that right. So it looks like this is a fake dating romance situation, which is a very popular trope right now, and I'm kind of excited about this one, I'm not gonna lie. And if you see here, she's got the handmade bookmark. Isn't that adorable? It's all ready for Valentine's Day. This is so cute. I love this and I'm so excited. I am actually excited to read this one. So the second one is a YA romance, and she chose this again based off of my own Goodreads account and the YA fantasy that I have already given 4 and 5 stars to. So the keywords here are witches, enemies to lovers, sisters, and food. So I'm already into it. Again, it comes with a handwritten thank you featuring Princess Jasmine and Cinderella. Ooh, and the flavor of tea for this book is called Sweet Dreams Herbal Tea. Chamomile and soothing mint. So I'm very excited. I'm a huge tea drinker. I love tea. So let's see what this one is. Okay, I'm so excited. This is Kingdom of the Wicked by Kerri Maniscalco. I loved all the keywords that were on the cover of this one, and I'm so excited to dive into it. So I know that Kerri Maniscalco is kind of divisive as an author. I think that you either really love her books or you hate them. So I get that. I'm really, though, excited. I've seen so many people review this. I've seen so many people read this, and it looks like it's right up my alley, and it looks like it's definitely part of my vibe. And of course, the handmade bookmark. Oh my gosh, this is adorable. Look at that. I love these. These are so neat. They're made of fabric and they have a cute little heart stitched on them. So cute. And as a special surprise, the matchmaking librarian herself sent over a 3rd book to be used in this month's giveaway. So this book also follows along with the romance themes of this month, and the keywords for this book are romance, JFK, 4 minutes, and young adult. So this is a young adult romance. If you're interested, stick around for the end of this month to find out how to enter into the giveaway for this month. And thank you again to Dorothy, the matchmaking librarian, for sending us this book. We're so excited. Thank you. So for the rest of these books, we're just going to power through them because I don't know that much about them other than that they're in the genres that I'm interested in and that most of them are by Black authors, which was the goal for this month. So this is my monthly TBR page inside my planner, and as you can see, it is filled with books and I am behind. So let's get started. In fiction, I'm reading The Year of the Witching by Alex Henderson. I don't know much about this book except I've heard that the witches in this story are actually the bad guys, and I'm not sure how I feel about that, so I got it on Kindle because I didn't want to commit to a hardback on that one just yet. In lit fiction, I'll be reading The 12 Tribes of Hattie by Ayanna Mathis, and this is about the matriarch of a large family who moves to the north from Georgia in the south in the early 1900s. It's about her children and grandchildren, and so far it's been a collection of almost interwoven short stories and the way that these children and grandchildren have really shaped Hattie's life. So for this month in particular, I pillaged a lot of books from my brother's bookshelf. As an historian and an avid reader of the classics, he had a lot of the books that I was interested in reading, one of which is Beloved by Toni Morrison, and this is my classic for this month. So this is about a family of former slaves whose home is inhabited by a malevolent spirit. For nonfiction, I have the narrative of the life of Frederick Douglass, an American slave, and this is an autobiography by Frederick Douglass, who was a famous abolitionist. I have 2 for middle grade this month, and one is Blended by Sharon M. Draper, and this is about an 11-year-old dealing with divorce and her own racial identity. My other middle grade is Hoodoo by Ronald L. Smith, and this is about a 12-year-old boy named Hoodoo who, even though he has grown up in a family of spiritual practitioners, he himself can't even perform a simple spell. My spiritual book for this month is The Tao of Pooh and The Tay of Piglet. This is by Benjamin Hoff, and I have read The Tao of Pooh before, and I absolutely loved it. It explains principles of Taoism through the characters of A. A. Milne's Winnie the Pooh. As a Disney person, obviously I was into that. But he also came out with a sequel, and this is an edition that published them both not too long ago, so it's been a recently updated edition. So in YA romance, besides Kingdom of the Wicked by Kerri Maniscalco, which was sent to us by the Matchmaking Librarian, I'm reading These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong. This book just recently came out and everyone's talking about it, so I can't wait to read it. This is a retelling of Romeo and Juliet set in 1920s Shanghai. My YA series for this month is going to be The Duology of All the Stars and Teeth by Adeline Grace. I know absolutely nothing about this series except for the fact that it has mermaids and pirates, and based on that alone, I am sold. I know we don't know each other very well, but there are 3 things in this world that I love: Santa Claus, anything dealing with witches or the occult, and pirates. So I'm reading 2 thrillers this month, one of which is The Changeling by Victor Laval. This is a grim fairy tale retelling that's set in New York City, and it's about parental obsession, spousal love, and like the secrets that can exist within a marriage. And you guys know how I feel about some modern fairy tales, so I'm really excited for this one. The other thriller I'm looking at is They All Fall Down by Rachel Howzell, and this is a retelling of Agatha Christie's classic And Then There Were None. And this book takes place, with 7 strangers on a deserted island, and one by one they start to disappear. So I'm excited for that one. I do love my classic mysteries. Another exciting thing to happen in the month of February is that my old content team with Disney is getting our book club back together after a very long hiatus throughout the disaster that was 2020. So for this month, we're reading a recommendation from our very own book boss, shout out Jess, and she has chosen, we've all voted on The Graceling by Kristen Kishore, and only a few of us in the group have read this one. I have not read it. It is a highly awarded, highly acclaimed YA fantasy in a world in which people, I think, are born with different graces or powers, and our main character was born with the power of killing people. So I think it's a trilogy, and I think over the trilogy we'll really see how that unfolds. So excited for that, and I'm really excited to have our book club back together. I do have a couple of rollovers from the month of January that I'm hoping to get caught up with throughout the month of February, and the first of those is Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. So this is a really dense book, and I've tried to read it a couple of times, but I really committed in January, and I'm about halfway through it, and it's just taking me a really long time to read it. First of all, it is my first dark academia book, and I'm not really sure how I feel about that. And second, this book does not slow down for exposition whatsoever. I feel like I want to be reading it with like a companion manual on how everything works. There is a little bit of a glossary in the back of the book that describes the 9 houses at this school and how they interact with magic and the dead, but that's not enough because this book is so dense with its own world and its own magic that it's just really hard to just dive into unless you just have a really long time. You have to read it very slowly to really understand it and embrace it. So it's just taking me a little while longer, and I'm hoping that I can get caught up with it throughout the month of February. The second is The Mysterious Messenger by Gilbert Ford. So this one was not on any TBR list. I didn't plan to pick it up in January or February. I just happened to be in Barnes & Noble, and when you walk by a book and it just calls to you and you know that it's going to be great. Yeah, so that's the kind of experience that I had with this book. It was front facing and it just called to me, and I knew that I had to have it. And it is a middle grade book, and it sounds so cute. A little girl whose mother is a con artist and she pretends to be a psychic. But the thing is, Mary, our 11-year-old protagonist, is actually a spiritual medium and she can see the dead. It looks like a really cute middle grade book that I'm hoping that I can get through in the month of February. So based on this month's TBR list, I'm already starting to pick up on a couple of themes that I'm seeing that I'll probably be talking about later on this month in episodes of Book Both Ways and Tabled Content. So in Book Both Ways, I'm really looking at romance as a legitimized genre and how readers participate in the stigma that's attached to romance as a legitimate subgenre of fiction. So I really want to explore that, and I want to talk about that as both a reader and a writer. So I'll be looking at that a little later this month in Book Both Ways. For tabled content, I really wanted to talk about representation this month and how important it is that we have representation outside the context of history. It's important that we see diverse characters portrayed as individuals and not just representations of their race or ethnicity. When we only read Black authors and read about Black characters in stories of oppression or stories of their struggle throughout history, then our only experience with Black characters is through a context of whiteness. We don't need to just read books about slavery. We need to read books about slavery and read Black authors, lift Black voices, and read stories that have Black characters that are represented as individuals. I also want to announce the winner of last month's January giveaway, and that's Lane with Lane Vaughn _. I used Wheel of Names to choose a winner, and Lane, you'll be receiving The Darkest Part of the Forest by Holly Black this week. So thank you so much for entering my giveaway on Instagram. So remember, I do a giveaway at the end of every month, so don't forget to come back at the end of this month for instructions on how to enter the February giveaway, where I'll be featuring a blind date book from the Matchmaking Librarian, and it will be a romance. So what are you reading this month? Are you excited for Valentine's Day? Are you reading a lot of romance? Are you reading books by Black authors? Are you celebrating Black History Month? Have you been following along with Blackathon? Are you on a team? Seriously, drop me a comment below and tell me all about it. I want to know what you're reading this month, and I want book recommendations from you. Take care, you guys, and as always, happy reading!